Welcome to Southern Assault Game 4. So this was Sunday morning, first game, and I was up against Ira. I've played Ira before at the Brawler Bash tournament. I also saw him at the Bragging Rights team tournament. He was on the Team Myrmidons. He's a fun guy to play and a fun guy to hang out with. So he's running Warriors of Chaos again, and fairly similar to Nick's Warriors of Chaos army. It's comp 10, very slightly harder. Again, I'm looking at a fairly sizable comp difference there, but it's not as bad as it could be. This isn't a comp, 1 or comp 5 Warriors list with all the filth. So here's his army. The scenario was Dawn Attack, and as a result, he had to roll a dice to see where his units went. So his units were fairly evenly spread out there. He had most of his units in the middle. He had a unit of Skull Crushers and a Chariot over on the right flank. So let's go through his list very quickly. First of all, he had Chaos Lord on a disc. Very killy, Chaos Lord, very mobile. What this does mean is he doesn't have a level 4. He actually has a level 1, which isn't in the picture. He must have been hiding behind this picture. I think a level 1 of metal, if I remember correctly. Then he had his BSB, sort of classic, unkillable BSB on a demonic mount. I think he had a 3+ ward save and a good armor save. I don't think he had the third eye, because that was too much for comp hit. Then he has 2 units of Vanguarding Dogs, 2 units of Vanguarding Marauder Cav, unit of Chaos Knights marked Khorne, 2 units of Skull Crusher Cavalry, 1 unit of Marauder, small unit, probably taken as a comp concession or as a Blood and Glory banner or both, and then 3 chariots, 2 of which are gore beasts. So on my side, I rolled quite a few of my units, my Fiends, a small unit of Demonettes, and my Chariot in the right side, and then everything else went into the middle. So this really gave me an opportunity to pull off a refused flank, something in a way that you can't normally do. He's already set up his whole army. He's put it all spread out. He doesn't know where I'm going to be. I can try and put everything onto my right flank, try and isolate part of his army without the rest of it being able to fight me. The Chariot and the cavalry are up where those dice are marking where they should be. They weren't standing on that hill. I also vanguarded my cavalry out. So for first turn, I needed to roll a 6, and I think I did roll that 6. So I was able to get first turn, and he was expecting to have that first turn. So after the vanguard moves happened, I had my first turn. So this picture is a little confusing. This is actually at the end of his first turn. So let me talk through what happened. First of all, there was a unit of dogs. Let's see if I can get my cursor. So there was a unit of dogs just here, and there was a unit of dogs over here. So my Chariot here was able to charge these dogs. And I was very keen to try and knock down his chaff units. A Slanesh demon army lives and dies by movement. If I get gummed up on chaff, I'm dead. I can't let that happen. So I was keen to get rid of them. Sacrificing a 110-point chariot for a 30-point dog unit doesn't sound like a good payoff there, but if I can get his chaff down. I was thinking that I could overrun and get out of the way of the chariots, which is what I did. And be safe there. I hadn't really thought about the Marauder unit that were sort of skulking at the back edge of the board, and they were, set to countercharge. In my magic phase, I was able to cast Acquiescence on the Chaos Knights, so they weren't able to charge. They're only moving d6 inches. I was also able to cast Frenzy on one of his Marauder Cav units. So my Fiends are up there. What they had done is they had charged a unit of dogs. I believe the dogs had even attempted to flee and just failed to roll high enough, and I'd been able to get in there. So I was fairly happy with that. I hadn't really thought through about the Marauders, and I had prevented his Chaos Knights from being able to charge my Fiends. So in his turn, let's get rid of these arrows. So he charged my big chariot with his Marauder Cav. He was asking me questions about exactly what my chariot could do. I tried to give him an honest appraisal of, they're gonna kill those Marauders. But he was under the frenzy. He was so he decided to declare that charge anyway. And to be honest, there was a reward there. If he can, my BSB's only tough 3. I only got 2 wounds. If he can kill my BSB, that's a big help there. What else? So his Chaos Lord was able to charge my Fiends, and I hadn't really seen that one coming. I hadn't really anticipated that. And honestly, he did a lot of damage. I mean, on his first round, he killed 3 Fiends between combat damage and combat resolution. I didn't expect that at all. That seemed like a lot more casualties than I was expecting. And if he does that again next round, then he's free to charge wherever he wants, and that's going to be a problem. And then lastly, those Marauders charged the Lone Chariot and killed it, fairly unsurprisingly. So this is the other side of the board. You can see he's moved his Blood Crushers forward a bit, but his Gore Beast is trying to get over from the that place where it's been stranded with nobody to charge. So he's trying to move them around and improve things. So my next turn, I declared a charge with my Keeper of Secrets into his Blood Crushers. So I've really managed to, get my Keeper of Secrets right into the middle of the enemy army. So I am setting myself up for another Cacophonic Caress, which is exactly what I did last game, and it didn't work. I've also charged my big chariot, went into the Chaos Knights that are on the hill. They're not in contact. We couldn't get the models to physically stay together because of the hill is very nice looking terrain piece, wasn't very easy to actually put models on. So the big chariot's in contact with those Chaos Knights. Here's another view of this turn. He's taken a few wounds on his Skull Crushers. I can't remember exactly what from, possibly from Winds of Magic effects. No, I can't remember. Anyway, over on the left side of the board, I put my Furies up to try and force his Blood Crushers into going in a different direction. And then what I attempted to do was 6 dice Cacophonic. This time, it worked. So I was able to hit his Chaos Knights, his Blood Crushers, obviously, and 2 Chariots. I wasn't quite able to get his Wizard at the back there. That was just out of range, and nor his BSB. So that meant all of these units are going to get Overstrix last. They're all going to take hits. It's sort of bad news for him. So the aftermath of that was that I vaporized one of the chariots completely. Another chariot was down to just 1 wound remaining in random movement D6. The Blood Crushers were taken down to just a few wounds remaining, and then the Keeper finished them off in combat. The Chaos Knights lost a couple of wounds from the spell, and then the Chariot impact hits and the challenge. He wasn't able to do any attacks back, but he was left with 1 model that survived. He did actually pass his break check, surprisingly. So he's still there. So his turn, in some ways that Cacophonic was almost too good. His BSB has now got a free charge against my chariot, which would be a flank charge. Remember, the chariot should be up against that Chaos Knight, which I didn't realize until after that spell resolution had been done. And over on the other side, his Chaos Lord is still attacking those Fiends, and he had a bad round of combat and wasn't able to do very much at all. His Blood Crushers charged my chaff, which will send them running off in the wrong direction. So his BSB did charge my BSB on her chariot. So this made me sad. That meant my BSB was almost certainly dead until I could get something into contact. And his chariot was random movement D6, and it turned out to be within 6 inches. So he needed to roll a 6 to get me. He rolled that 6. The chariot came in and charged my general. So over here you can see the Chaos Lord's done a few more wounds on the Fiends, but it really hasn't. He killed 3 in the first round of combat, and then after that, nothing. And I actually moved that unit of Demonettes to try and tie him up for when he inevitably killed my fiends, and he hasn't killed my fiends. So the Skull Crushers killed those Furies and overrun, so they're really out of the game right now. And they took some wounds. I'm trying to remember exactly what happened to them. I'm thinking Winds of Magic may have got them. And over here, so my Greater Demon got charged by the Chariot. The Chariot didn't do any wounds. It just completely flubbed on its impact hits, and then she obviously took the last wound off the Chariot. So that wasn't too hard. I then had opportunity to turn around in his turn as a reform at the end of his turn, and then charge into the rear of his BSB. But his BSB is already a challenge. While it adds combat rares, it doesn't really help very much. So and it could leave my general stuck there until that challenge end. And what was surprising was that my BSB actually managed to survive the attacks from his BSB. I only took one wound from that charge, which I was happy about. So in my magic phase, I was able to cast Cacophonic Choir just on his BSB and did 3 wounds past the ward save, which I think was very lucky. Over here, so my BSB is then free to attack that last Chaos Knight, which he kills. His Chaos Lord is still killing Fiends, and at this point it's got them down to 3 wounds, and I think just before the start of my turn, he was able to kill the last one. And then behind that building, that level 1 Metal Mage got charged by my Seeker unit, and he's armored up to the eyeballs, and he's got a demonic mount and all the rest of it, but he lost combat. He took a couple of wounds on the charge, somehow managed to get through his armor, he failed his break check, and off he went. So that was also very unexpected. At this point, I killed his knights. My big chariot was able to reform. His Chaos Lord had finally killed all of the fiends, turned round to face me. I was able to charge him with both my big chariot and with my keeper. Charged in, won combat, he broke, and he was run down. So that was the end of him. So, in terms of general game plan, once again, run into the middle of the enemy army and then Cacophonic Choir everybody. This was what I tried to do last game. It just didn't go off. This game it did. That's the problem with some of these really high casting value spells is the strategy of run into the middle and 6 dice it really works, or it doesn't, depending on whether you can actually hit that casting value. So it's like tossing a coin, really. The other thing was the Dawn Attack helped me. Not only did I get to see his deployment, the dice helped me refuse flank, and then I got to go first just to rub it in. So, final result, Warriors of Chaos got 5, Demons of Chaos got 15. So that was 1 point shy of the max points now. Right, meanwhile, back to our Daniel San story. So Daniel San was at the start of Sunday morning. First of all, he was very ill. He ate something unpleasant on the Saturday night and was up all night suffering, let's just say, unpleasantness as a result. So he was really barely able to stand Sunday morning. And he went up against Jerry, and Jerry had been talking smack Saturday night to everyone and about everyone. In fact, talking smack loud enough that most of the hotel heard, I think, and amusingly, Sunday afternoon had completely lost his voice. So Jerry went up against Daniel San and got absolutely beaten down by Daniel San. So Daniel San, and at this point, we the story was evolving. We really weren't surprised. I told Jerry he didn't, there was no question that I was going to be playing Daniel San in the last round. It was clearly fate and it had nothing to do with him. So Daniel San wins. So that's it. Next game is myself versus Daniel San. Hope you enjoyed the battle report. Bye.